For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dhlamini, researcher and analyst. Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss the crisis in state institutions and how we respond. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Are you not exaggerating when you speak of the state and state-owned institutions falling into dysfunctionality?
Well, I'm not sure that I'm exaggerating because I didn't even list the post office, and many people have given up on using the post office. An organization like Creamer Media, which has a website, but also depends on people buying the hard copy on subscription, have basically not been able to deliver. People have paid their subscription and they can't get it. They've not been able to get it last year, and my impression is that people can't. I have been to the post office and there's hardly any post. There was a picture in the Saturday Star, and no one has contested that it's true, a picture of the Johannesburg post office hub, and was packed and uncleared, lots of mail there. And then there was a picture of a post office van dumping post into a rubbish bin. And no one has said it's untrue. Now, what this case of the post office illustrates, I think, is part of the wider problem. You have a labour dispute from last year, and the labour dispute is still brewing. I don't know if there's a strike now. They were giving notice of a strike, but there's not a functioning post office from what I can see. And my impression is that the current government has not any longer got the capacity or the willingness to negotiate solutions with parties who disagree. In this case, the post office workers. So the result of this dispute is that they haven't, following last year's strike, developed a framework for a sustainable solution to the problem of the post office. In places like Britain, other parts of the world, you have very well-functioning postal services. In South Africa, you don't. And as I indicate in the article, you have a situation in Eskom where the executive chair, the non-executive chair, does some things like suspend the CEO, who's only been there for about 6 months. And he has gone now. They were having a motion of no confidence in the executive chair, and there doesn't seem to be steps to return those suspended officials to their position. I've never heard before how you can have an inquiry and then suspend officials who've only been there for 6 months in the case of the CEO. At first they said this is not a suspension, but in fact Matona went to the Labour Court and he's going to the CCMA, so they've admitted it's a suspension. You also have this irregularity where, or let me say, to me as a member of the public, it's irregular that the non-executive chair earned 1.7 million last year. And they say he may want severance pay for resigning 3 months earlier, and that is $500,000. Now, when you're a non-executive chair, it is essentially public service. Now, how can you be paid such a huge amount? I also think that we have a situation where the public really has no confidence in a state-owned enterprise like Eskom getting things right. In one newspaper you read that there's likely to be a blackout of 2 weeks. We don't know whether or not this is true. They say it's really something they simulate every now and again, but the credibility of state-owned enterprises is very low, and state institutions in general are in crises of various kinds.
And you also suggested the problems of the state-owned entities like Eskom are similar characters to the attacks that we see now for the NPA and other institutions. What should be done about this?
You see, what I see as similar is irregularity, that much of what concerns the government when there's a problem is who they will put in place of someone else. For example, Zola Tsotsi, the former non-executive chair of Eskom, has resigned, and they've brought in Ben Ngubane as acting chair. Now, Zuma wanted Ngubane always, and he's not got a very good record. But what I think is happening in all of these state-owned enterprises or state institutions is that you've got instability relating to who is the head. For example, the NPA head is being investigated. The Hawks head has been suspended. The IPID head has been suspended. There's question marks around the South African Airways, around SABC, etc., etc. And I think these irregularities are extremely serious in the NPA, for example. You've got 3 or 4 people who are facing charges of fraud and who are being facing a court action where the General Counsel of the Bar is applying for them to be struck off the roll of advocates. Now, to be struck off the roll of advocates is extremely dishonorable thing for a person who's an advocate. Now, if you are leading figures in the National Prosecuting Authority and you face being dismissed in this way, it's actually bringing the administration of justice into disrepute. And it's not only them, the police service. We know that the evidence leaders at Marikana were holding the police responsible. Many people are calling for the head of the Commissioner of Police, General Pierre, and so forth. So for us as members of the public who watch this, we need to ask ourselves, what can we do about it? Because those who are charged with carrying out these duties on our behalf are not actually operating in a regularized manner. They are not ensuring that the administration of justice operates in a manner through which we can have confidence. Now, some people, like the DA, pay a lot of attention to these things. But some people who regard themselves as radicals are more concerned, or only concerned, or primarily concerned with issues of inequality and socioeconomic change. Now, my belief is you can't pick and choose. We have got rights in South Africa under a new democratic order since 1994. It's very important that we defend those rights, that we defend legality, that we join together, as I've said lots of times, all people who have an interest in clean government, ending the violence, and restoring the rule of law. Now, that to me requires people who are clean, faith-based organizations, sections of business who are clean, to advance a unifying vision behind which people can demand the restoration of constitutionalism.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the crisis in state institutions and how we respond. Thank you, Professor.
Thanks.